going on, everybody? You are live with Osiris. Welcome to the Author's Lounge. The world is filled with storytellers, and I, along with my guests, are here today in the Author's Lounge to help educate and inspire the young generation of writers and creators. Now, my guests are professionals in publishing, writers from a wide range of formats, and successful entertainers. They will provide beneficial advice on what to do and what not to do on your path to success. So, without further ado, I'll present to you our next guest. Let's go. Our guest is someone who specializes and has a wealth of knowledge as a marketing coach. She is also an author and has a background on how to help those who are entrepreneurs. So I'll let her dive deep into what exactly that she does as a whole. But without further ado, I present to you the wonderful Sophie Lechner. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I feel like I'm in a movie or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, hence the Audrey Hepburn in the back right there.
Yes.
I think that's Audrey. I
Yes,
can't.
that is Audrey Hepburn.
That
She's
is,
all over my house. I adore her.
yeah. That's how my wife feels about Marilyn Monroe. A lot of the um, classic Hollywood actresses had there was a different time frame, different sense of class. Though there's still class currently, just
Yeah.
different time frames. They seemed more those movie stars back in the day. They just seemed more unreachable or more untouchable. I
Mhm.
guess given the lack of means of connecting with them, the only way you can really see them was in a movie
Yeah.
or on an award show. Now we can see a lot of the actors or a lot of them on social media and things. So it's, the mystique behind
Yes.
these people are not as prominent as they once were. But anyway, let's talk
Yeah.
about you for a bit. You're an author. You're a marketing coach. I know that you talked to me about you help out people via LinkedIn. So what exactly, if you don't mind explaining to our
Yeah.
listeners, what exactly is it that you do?
Thank you. Yes. So I have been on LinkedIn for 20 years, ever since it first came out. And a few years ago, I became, mostly through demand from friends and colleagues, I actually became a LinkedIn coach. I can tell you more about the backstory, but as I was helping my clients, solopreneurs, coaches, authors, people who are who base their business on their expertise and are pretty much by themselves. So professionals as well. And so I helped them with LinkedIn. And as I was doing that, I realized, and they told me that I was helping them with a lot more than just how to use LinkedIn. And
Hmm.
so it grew, and as I explored what it was that I was actually helping them with, it was actually a whole different way of looking at marketing that
Hmm.
just kind of came to me naturally from the origins of how I started using LinkedIn. And I came to realize that it was actually quite a bit different than what anybody
Hmm.
else was doing. So once I understood that, I analyzed what it was, the key principles, and created a model to capture all of
Yeah.
these strategies together. And that's called the magnet model, because the whole premise is we want to attract our ideal clients like a
Hmm.
magnet, and not have to go chasing them. And so I decided to put this model and explain it and the strategies in a book, which I have right here. I don't know if it will be the right way around for people, but
Hmm.
Unlock Your Impact, the roadmap, roadmap to magnetic client attraction for entrepreneurs who hate marketing. And
Hmm.
so that I published last March. So I help mission driven entrepreneurs with their marketing and their LinkedIn, so they can overcome this hatred of marketing.
Oh yes, and one thing that I've come to understand and actually quite enjoy when it comes to marketing is learning which depending on the platform that you're on could vastly.
alter the marketing strategy. But with LinkedIn, the specifics, what I really enjoy most about that platform is that it seems to very much be focused, at least in my experience, focused on businesses, on being around other business minded thinkers, regardless of the business. For me, I'm
Mhm.
my algorithm and my connections with the people that I have on there generally are people within the entertainment industry. But
Mhm.
I would imagine it to be dedicated to who whatever type of business that people really have on there. And I mean
Mhm.
the fact that I believe Microsoft owns it. I could be wrong, in
Yes,
that
yes,
I did.
we
Okay,
bought it some years ago. Yep.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It has, there's a lot of professionals on there. You have lawyers, accountants, small businesses, medium businesses. You also have all the giants there and a lot of corporate people. But now you also have in the last, I don't know, few years, you have a lot of you even have actors on there. You
Yeah.
have, really all kinds of professions, medical professionals, healers, and then, coaches and really like everybody. Nowadays, it's hard to have a presence without being on LinkedIn at all,
Hmm.
So, yeah, almost everybody is on there.
No, I agree with you on that. In fact, when I was thinking, so when I started going through doing social media marketing,
Mhm.
when I was told, hey, on a multitude of occasions, you need to have a social media presence, Osiris. I'm like, why? Like it's X, Y, and Z. I was a small minded thinker in regards to social media.
Mhm.
My bias was that it was a place full of negativity. Obviously, of course, it's
Mm.
what you make of it, but in my experiences with using social media, and it had nothing to do with businesses, but my mindset at the time was it's
Yeah.
full of X, Y, Z. What can I really benefit from going back? I don't have a strategy.
Yeah.
But I eventually, succumbed to the idea thanks to my wife who helped me. Once I learned, when I actually had my own business with my book
Mhm.
publishing and with my book publishing house, that okay, I can go about it in this fashion. But I quickly learned, right, like with Instagram, depending on what you're doing, there's a lot more. It's a young demographic there that really just is more focused on pictures. But if you do it right, you can market it there. X was really political, or Twitter, how we're gonna call it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
what else?
I've never enjoyed Twitter anyway. I prefer long form, I like writing, and so this,
Hmm.
short thing, I didn't never quite got into that. I tried Instagram, but I really don't like I don't know, the ambiance there, and I don't
Hmm.
understand it. I feel like you have to do so much more to make a difference on Instagram and be
Hmm.
posting a lot, and I just don't like Facebook. I just don't feel comfortable on it. And you're
Hmm.
right. I feel like if you're doing it for your business, I really feel that LinkedIn is the best way because it's there's some personal stuff, but it's personal in terms of personal development,
Hmm.
growth, business acumen, and business professional development.
For sure.
So
For,
yeah,
I would agree with you. I think it would be to the best interest of whomever, right? That is any sort of a business minded thinker to have an account with LinkedIn.
mm,
If you, not you, man, but like anyone in particular who feels like I can go to TikTok or I can go to Substack or Blue Sky, whatever the other ones
mhm,
are,
yeah,
I think it should be not should, but it should be highly encouraged. It is highly encouraged to use LinkedIn. I'm not an ambassador
yeah.
for LinkedIn, but I'm sure you have more experience that you can speak about as to why you feel LinkedIn is a really solid spot to go.
Yeah, I think it's very important to at least, even if you're not going to use it on an ongoing basis for your content, at the very least, it's very important to have a very solid profile because when people Google your name, your LinkedIn profile is the first thing that comes up. So if they
Hmm.
see, tumbleweeds, it just looks empty or old or very stilted, resume style,
Hmm.
people are going to get the a very, very wrong impression of you and a negative impression of you. And, the first impression we all know is super important. So you need to have a LinkedIn profile that really captures who you are with the graphics, with the headline, with your picture, with all of the content. And the about section really needs to explain what you can do for people and how, and your passion. A lot of LinkedIn profiles are missing this whole piece about passion. What is your vision? What is your mission? What led you from your life to want to dedicate your life to this business that you're doing now? I think that is such an important concept that people completely miss in their LinkedIn profile. But it's the magnet inside the entire magnet model. If you want to attract people, you have to share
Yeah.
who you are, what you're doing. And it feels maybe difficult and artificial and woo, but when you put yourself in the shoes of the reader, when you come across somebody's LinkedIn profile, if it's going to be very cold and factual, it's not going to grab you. It needs to grab you by the gut. And we all make decisions based on emotion first, and then the head justifies, right? So you need to connect with people at that emotional level, and then, make sure the facts support that. You have your recommendations, you have your testimonials, you have, and the featured section is a wonderful opportunity. It's like your shop window. I think I say the whole profile is like a shop window. You want people to, when they walk by, you want them to stop and enter and discover all the beautiful things you have inside. And your featured section is one of the great ways to really showcase anything you want. It's like a portfolio. So it's really important to have that all set up. And then, of course, you can use content to attract your
Oh
clients.
goodness. You were touching on some things as well, where I remember when I was in, and I recently updated my LinkedIn to reflect this. My recently, I think it was maybe 2 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I had been on LinkedIn. I guess technically speaking, I've been on LinkedIn for several years, but I never used it. Hence, like I just never used it. I forgot even why I created a LinkedIn account. I think I created it just to have something. But
Mm-hmm.
I started actively using it this year, and I've been able to grow the channel, substantially grow the channel. But I think it had a lot to do with I knew what my message was, and but I recently updated it about 2 months ago to have almost look like a resume in a sense, to
Mm-hmm.
reflect just what I've done both professionally and personally, this
Mm-hmm.
show that I'm doing now, what I've done in the military, both as a mental health paraprofessional and as a finance, my self help podcast, and like the books that I've written in my independent book publishing house and how long I've been doing that. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized that stuff is important, to highlight, to capture on your profile for people to know who you are. Now I do it under my pen name, right? Would you suggest that it goes under your government name, or should it go under your pseudonym? What's your advice on that?
No, I mean, unless everybody knows you from your pseudonym, then do that. But for the most part, I would say do it under your regular name, and it could even be your nickname or whatever, like a shortened version if you prefer, like or Debbie instead of Deborah. But definitely have it under your name. The other thing I wanted to say is, you talked about having your LinkedIn profile be your resume in the sense that you want to have to display everything that you've done in your life. I would say yes, but it shouldn't be in the format or tone of a resume. It really needs to be more storytelling and more engaging, more emotional, first person, like you. And um and the other thing I thought is, if you want, I can do with you something that I offer, and I can offer to your listeners as well, is LinkedIn profile audit. So, we get on a call, I look at your profile and I just give you a critique of the key things that you could do to improve your profile. So if you'd like, we could get, together on a call and I could take a look at your profile and give you some guidance. It's a
Oh,
compliment.
sure.
Yeah, it's a complimentary thing I offer to, my podcast hosts and
Yeah.
their audience. So you take me up
That,
with that. I'll give you the link and you can put it in the.
yeah. No, that works. Generally, how long does that normally take for you to do?
So I book a half hour, and we spend about maybe 10 minutes. Doing a general introduction. What are your goals? What are you trying to get out of LinkedIn, so that I know what direction to go. And then we share screen and we look at the profile together, and I just give you the key points, and then we're done.
Yeah, that works. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
I'm always open to critiques and feedback and ways to improve as
Mhm.
a whole. And I think when I speak to somebody such as yourself who actually has experience in what has worked for people, oh, absolutely, I'm fully on board with that. And I encourage anybody to find either speak with Sophie Lechner directly or find someone that you feel you want to go to for this type of advice, because it's always necessary to have somebody help you. You can't do this alone. Like one thing I've learned, just in just generally speaking, is that it's a team effort as a whole, depending on what level of success you're trying to reach. Now, I
Yeah.
want to speak to you about your book too.
Mhm.
Now, with your book, and the title is escaping me. Was it
Uh,
Unlock Your Impact?
yes, correct. Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, can
And,
you talk a bit about the process of what it took for you to write that book,
yeah.
and also how long did it take you to write the book?
Yes. All right. So let me actually start with why it's called Unlock Your Impact. It's because I have spoken with hundreds of entrepreneurs. Some of them I coached and some of them I just interviewed. And what I found is so many of them actually showed up with almost like a split personality when I was interviewing them. So, on the one hand, they were passionate about what they did, they were so generous and wanting to offer and help others. And they would talk about the impact that they could have and how they worked with clients and what the ripple effects of their work was. And then when we started talking about marketing and how do they find their clients, their face would change, their body language would change. It was almost as if I was talking to someone different who felt defeated, disgusted, like not, lost, confused, and didn't know what to do, or just hated doing the whole marketing thing. And so here was all these people who had so much to offer, but were stuck and constricted by the
Yeah.
fact that they had what I came to understand was a misconception about marketing, and they were looking at marketing like this thing that's on the other side of the wall, where you have your client work and you enjoy it, you love it, and then on the other side of the wall, there's this horrific thing you need to do, which is marketing. A lot of them felt that it was, self promotion, that it was just pushy. They were absorbing a lot of what we are told needs to be done in marketing. So, aggressive tactics and countdown timers and funnels
Yeah.
and just removing agency from your clients. So, that's why eventually, as I was writing my book, and I'll get to that process in a second, I realized, the ultimate thing I wanted is to unlock the impact that these people could make in the world. So, so that's the name of the book. So it's interesting because I started writing it. So in total, from first putting pen to paper to publishing was probably about 2 years, if not a little bit
Yeah.
more. But there was a whole first period where I started writing, and I was actually writing only about LinkedIn. And I knew I wanted to capture the rest of what I offer, the bigger picture, like the marketing principles. But I just let myself slide into a comfortable, just writing about, you click here, you do this, you post that. And I stopped after about 20,000 words, which you as an author will know that's not
Yeah,
insignificant.
yeah, no, for
And I
sure.
said, no, that's not the right direction. And it was hard, but I had to put aside that manuscript and go back to thinking, okay, what is it I actually want to do? And that's when I went into this whole project of capturing the principles I wanted to put forth into a model. And I can show it if I find it. I can show it to you, but let me put it in front of the camera. So it's a three-part model, and
It
then
almost looks like the Ikigai.
it has some components of that, but this is the ikigai in the center is what you want to do. It's your passion, your mission. This one is more outward looking. So in the center is what we actually want from our business, which is impact, income, and independence. The
Okay.
independence to do your business the way you want, not just geographically and in time, but aligned with your values and really the business you want that you're going to be happy doing on a daily basis. So that's at the center. And then the three key drivers are those three circles and their mission, message, and movement. And so creating this and forcing myself to really distill, first understand all the things I was doing that were different from the traditional marketing, then putting it in the model and making it work because there's a whole dynamic inside the model, and then explaining that in the book. That was a huge, like, head hurting exercise that went on
Yeah, I
for
bet.
months. So then when I started writing the book again, once I had my model and I was able to really focus, then that took about I'd say about 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. Then I had, 10 beta readers. So that was a whole other 3 months of, intensive tweaking and rewriting parts. And I'm so grateful for my beta readers because the book is
Yeah.
so much better than the first draft. So yeah, that was the process. And it all came out in March of this year. So it's been a very, very exciting, yeah, exciting path.
Hey, congratulations, one on the publication of Unlock Your Impact.
Thank you.
That how many books have you published?
That's the first one.
So that's a huge milestone
Yes.
to have reached in. Because many people who published their first book. Now, was this self published or was this independently published through an indie house or?
No,
Okay,
self-published. Yeah, self-published.
no, good, good. So very good. So a lot of authors that I've met who do it, who go the self published route, when they do their first book, they have no clue about beta readers. They don't understand the concept. This is not a knock against anybody. This is just the reality for most,
Yes.
for many authors who are new into this business, especially self published ones. They write their book and they might edit it themselves through a software like Grammarly, and then they'll
Yeah.
put it together, maybe, and then put the book out, and then wonder why it's not really receiving the type of love it could really receive.
Yeah.
Beta readers are important. Going back over rewriting, rewrite. It is hard to look at your manuscript 20,000 characters or word count in and
Words.
say,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. That
Yeah.
is hard. That because
I know.
20,000 words is a long time for depending on the writer. I know everyone writes at their own speed, but 20,000 words just to put this in perspective for people who are listening, right? Who may not be a writer, but I don't know, you everyone for the most part has been to school, so they can understand the idea of writing an essay that's 1,000 words, right? 1,000 word essay can take a few hours, and without going back and proofreading it and editing it. So you tag on another 19,000 words on top of life that goes into all of this,
Yeah.
and patience and headaches that go into one to make the story and remain creative in that aspect. And it takes a long time to then
Yeah.
say, yeah, this is not it. I got to
It
turn
was
away.
it was a
What was
rough
that
one.
like for you?
Yeah. It was rough. But at the same time, I mean, once I made the decision, because initially I was like, yeah, I started getting this feeling, like this isn't really the book, this isn't the book, and how can I change it and change this, change that? It became really burdensome that I was not
Hmm.
only not liking what I had done already or not no longer being aligned with it, but also the whole process of wanting to change it. So when I actually came to the decision that I need to start from scratch, yes, it was painful, but there was also some
Hmm.
relief there. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, clean page, clean page. Let me think. And
Hmm.
I would say that once I started that is when I really started enjoying the process of writing. Because for me, the process of writing, and I'm sure it's the case for all authors, but I thoroughly enjoyed the process of thinking
Hmm.
hard. Like I would keep saying, "Oh my God, my head hurts." I didn't have a headache, but it felt like, oh, I was pressing and pushing and, doing hard thinking to
Hmm.
get my ideas together and then translate them. And I hadn't had that feeling before, in those 20,000 words. I was just like, all right, I need to get to, 30,000. And so, oh, let me add this, oh, here, I wrote another 2,000 words. It wasn't, I mean, I was enjoying it, but it was more like, oh, let me just write down the stuff that I say to my clients all the time. It was
Right.
just like, yeah. So it was a completely different creative process. Yeah.
Hmm.
When I finally wrote the book that came out, I wasn't counting the words so much as I was trying to initially write a book that was 30,000 words to kind of, get it out there. Then it ended up being like 50, well, closer to 50,000 than anything else.
Hmm.
And it just
So,
because it came out, and once it started
yeah.
coming out, it didn't want to stop.
Oh yeah, you got into that flow state for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
And so another question too. May I see your book cover again? I just want to make sure that
of course.
uh, okay, it is what I thought. Okay, so because I'm looking at the
Hmm.
color, right, and then I'm also
Yeah,
looking at the color that you're wearing, and
yeah.
maybe it's a fashion statement, or maybe it just happens to be, both. Or maybe, but my immediate thought is that oh, this is a branding. This is branding related, or it's just I just like to match, or maybe both. But
It's a
is
combination. Yeah.
it's a combination of both. Okay, now on my screen, it kind of looks like it's magenta. I understand computers, things
Yes,
kind of.
it's magenta. Hmm.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
And was the color of your book magenta also, or some form of color?
Yes, yes, it's magenta, and my whole
Okay.
branding is this magenta and then this blue. I actually went through a whole branding exercise at the same time as I was doing the book.
Hmm.
But these are colors that I've always loved. They're my two favorite colors, pink and teal. And so these are just, variations of that. So my whole website, which is themagnetmodel.com.
Hmm.
Go to the website, you'll see all these colors. I mean, it's mostly blue
Yes.
background and pink accent,
Hmm.
but yes.
And so then the reason why I brought that up is
Mhm.
because so you would be, I think, the fourth person that I've spoken to who is absolutely sure of themselves when it comes to color representation, right? Like a buddy of mine, Dale, he uses bright orange, not just
Mhm.
orange, but like a nice, bright, vibrant orange.
Mhm.
Giovanna Vidal, who I just actually recently became friends with, the actress that I had on my show, she wears yellow,
Mm.
nice bright vibrant yellow. And then Julie Broad, she wears blue, sometimes black but mostly blue, and then yourself with magenta. And each time that I think about when it comes to branding and the importance of it, right, I think about characters such as like Super Mario with his colors, or
Yeah.
even Pokemon with Pikachu and the
Yeah.
yellow with the red dots, or Sonic the Hedgehog or Pac-Man, and why that's important as
Mhm.
an identity. And so I'm curious like what your philosophy is on it, right? Because I also understand that other certain colors represent something specific. Even
Mhm.
if it's your favorite color, it might have a deeper meaning. Like blue and orange are colors that make people feel like they can trust you. Hence, like
Mhm.
Blippy, when Blippy
Mhm.
came onto the scene for children and he had that blue and
Mhm.
orange color combination, or Miss
Mhm.
Rachel wore pink.
Or
Um, right, right.
Sonic was blue.
Sonic was blue too, right? And I know, like it invokes a level of trust. Like if you
Yeah.
wear the color red, I don't necessarily know what the color red actually means from the top of my head, but I know it's like a
Mhm.
power statement. Depending on if it's like a red dress, you show up to a
Yeah.
white, black and white party, black and
Yeah.
white outfit, not black and white race, black and white,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
like suits and ties type. But if you come in like a red tie
Mhm.
or a red dress, it indicates something different. But for you, um, why are colors or color combinations important in branding?
So, I'm not a branding expert, but I can tell you I adore colors and playing with colors, and I seem to have an eye for color. Like I'll go in a store and I will see something and I'll say, "Oh, that's the exact right matching the same exact color as this thing that's in my wardrobe." Most people can't do that. So there's that thing. And I love playing with colors and I make my own jewelry. And so if you look at this, I
Oh,
create the
nice.
bead, yeah, from polymer clay. And I love combining colors. So I will take, a piece of blue and a piece of black and a piece of gold and meld it together. And I'm fascinated by what's going to come out, right? Like I had no idea this pattern would be what it is until I started playing with it.
Hmm.
So I love colors. I have always loved pink ever since I was a small kid.
Hmm.
And this color pink, more like the background of Audrey
Hmm.
here than this pink. Originally it was more a paler pink, more baby pink. It just my eye is drawn to it. I painted my chair rail that color.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's a color that just makes me happy. So I used to wear it all the time. I was called the Pink Panther when I was, in middle school and high
That's
school. They would
awesome.
call me the Pink Panther. Yeah,
That
it
is
was big
awesome.
at the time. Those movies. And
Hmm.
and then when I started, college and became more of an adolescent and growing up, I dropped it because I thought it was like a bit of a childish thing. It's like, oh well, that's what I did when I was a kid, and that's it. And then much, much, much later, when I went into business for myself, my first company, I wanted to be. I was my client base was small corporations, but I was still out of 20 years of corporate, so I did navy blue and burgundy,
Hmm.
and that was my color palette. But it was more what I wanted people to see. It was the conception, it was the perception I was trying to make. I was still not being myself fully.
Hmm.
So when I started my following business, this is maybe more than you were looking for, but I said, what are going to be my brand colors? And I was speaking to a friend of mine who is a branding specialist. And I said, I love pink, but you can't that's not really serious in business. And she's like, what? What? If that's your favorite color, do it. Go for it.
Hmm.
Kathleen, she had a big role to play, and so I said okay, and I started timidly going with the pinks, and then I was like, this baby pink is not cutting it. It's just not, and I just found myself more drawn to this magenta. So I
Hmm.
did my website and everything with the magenta and the teal, and I did branding and all this. And then so when the book up came out, I was like, all right, it's going to be magenta, and I put it out for on LinkedIn for my readers and my emails and all this. I had them choose between a bunch of different covers,
Hmm.
and I had like the main cover was in this color, and then the band here was magenta. I had all kinds of permutations, and it was really interesting because I I could see who among my audience was preferring this, and it was all my people. And it didn't, and some of the women said, oh no, we prefer the blue because, pink, it's going to make the guys think that it's for women and all this. But only the women said that. The guys who are my
Interesting.
audience, yeah, the guys who are my kind of guys, my kind of audience, they all went for the pink.
Yeah,
So,
I would have picked the pink too.
right, there you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's really interesting. And the people who prefer the blue were generally more analytical, more corporate, so it was really a fun thing. So this was a lot more information than you were going for, but
No, I think that's perfect. And one of the things that I really love about it, right? Because yours, with your magenta, right, it makes me think of the orange and the yellow
yeah,
representation. That those
yeah,
colors,
yeah.
you when you see it, it's like okay, their personality. To me, and this might be reading too much into it, but I also think there may be some merit of truth to it, where you look at a color, the color that someone is wearing. If they're coming in there and they're wearing a suit and tie, for
Mhm.
example, and you are going to a press conference to talk to teenagers or talk to college students, but you're on stage in a suit and tie,
Mhm.
I'm not likely to trust that person like that,
Right.
because to me, it gives the impression of like, I don't even know what phrase to use, but it just doesn't feel as welcoming as it would if they came there and let's say like just a t-shirt. I mean,
Mhm.
of course, not like a presentable looking presence,
Yeah.
but not in a suit and tie. In the same manner, right? Oh, you look like you want to say something. Go ahead if you need to.
No,
Sorry.
I was just gonna say it's more about connecting with our audience and making sure that you are connecting with them. I mean, the guy who comes in a suit and tie to speak to teenagers is basically not understanding their audience. So the problem is even deeper than the impression they give is that they're disconnected before they even open their mouth, right?
Yeah. No, that's well said because knowing your audience really plays heavily into your favor. As you mentioned too, like your guys, and your gals as well. When it came to what you were presenting to them, it would have been a different story if you didn't know your audience at all. You don't necessarily know what they want, what vibes with them. This kind of all ties back to what we were speaking about at the beginning of the show with the platforms that people choose to market on is
Mhm.
actually understanding that platform that you're marketing on. We can't necessarily effectively market in the same manner that we do on LinkedIn as we would on Instagram, since Instagram is
Mm.
almost in a sense a gallery of imagery.
Yeah.
And I know it's converted to shorts as well, like TikTok, and that's an entirely different entity in itself with TikTok.
Yeah.
And so, but really kind of boil it back down to like what works best for you, the person.
Mhm.
What do you feel more comfortable with speaking your truth on and mastering? And so I really liked what you talked about with the colors because I myself have been thinking about
Mhm.
different colors and even as recent as prior to today, as recent as last week when I was
Mhm.
talking to Giovanna and I saw her with a yellow and I was thinking I've been wanting to do to understand like what color do I want to represent because I love the color blue and
Mhm.
but what but I also don't want to wear a color that's not complementary of my skin tone either
Mhm.
because then that can detract from it as well. Since for those listening who have never seen my face, I'm a dark skinned male, and I want colors to be complementary. Kind of like what you have is complementary of your skin tone. I don't want to wear something that it just is off putting to me.
Yeah.
And so there's that concept as well. So
Yeah.
sorry, I'm going on a little bit.
No, but there's a bunch of blues that look beautiful with the color of your skin. I have some jewelry. I'm not going to go get it now, but I have some jewelry where I have played with a dark teal, slightly slate, and browns and different shades of browns, and it is beautiful. So I could see you going for some, even in your clothing. Look at me. Tell it. This is crazy. I've told podcast hosts what I think they should wear.
Hey,
But
no,
this
I'm
blue would
super
be
open
great.
for it.
I think
Yeah.
this kind of blue would be really cool on you. And
Okay. Yeah. When we start recording, I don't know if it's near you or anything like that, but definitely because even this is my wife. She did this painting, right?
oh,
And
beautiful.
I'm like looking at like different colors, like maybe this shade here. Or
Yes.
I was even considering like a lighter blue.
As a
But I'm not
compliment.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. This is going to be painful. They're going to have FOMO, the people who are listening without the video. You're going to have to put the picture in the show notes.
All right. So for the audience, so those who are only listening to the audio version of this, I'm pointing out a painting that my wife painted. It is abstract art, but it has a variety of blue colors in it with some peach cream color and like magenta as well. In fact, now that I look at it, I'm like, dang, how did she do that? But anyway, yeah. So, but
Anyway.
thank you for the suggestion. I definitely am curious on like any particular type of color, but I can ask you that once we stop recording here. But before I let you go, um, is there anything you wanna point out? You wanna mention before I let you get out of here?
Well, I've mentioned before the profile audit is something that I'm happy to offer your audience, but there's also something that I created to help you really create the about section, which is the heart of your LinkedIn profile, to write it in a way that really captures what I was saying before, like your passion, your mission, the core of who you are, so that you can attract your ideal clients like a magnet. And it's a guide to write your about section. And so I can give you the link, but it's on my website, and it's themagnetmodel.com/about section. And there you can download that guide, and it's a series of questions to help you come up with the content that you're going to want to put in there. And then there's a fill in the blank template and guidance for how to put it all together. And so I think
Wow.
that's a really good tool. If your audience wants to download that, I'd be glad for them.
Oh yeah. No, I would love that. I will make sure that there's certain parts of the show that gets highlighted more when I put it out for in the short format. That will be one of them as well. But okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Sophie, for all the information. And it's been a pleasure to,
Yes,
to, to speak with you. Finally, to actually be able to sit down and speak with you.
yes. It has been
Yeah.
an absolute pleasure and very fun. And I always love when on podcasts I end up talking about, new things I've never talked about before, which we definitely did.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Hey, but thank you so much, Sophie, for coming on board, and thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to tune in to today's episode. I will be sure to link all the information in the description of this episode, and also the description of the episode as a whole, whether it's the video or the audio format. So be sure to click on that when you all have an opportunity. And that's all I got for you all. You all have a wonderful remainder of your day. Take care. I'll catch you next time.
Bye.